Friday, guys, and welcome back to the Jeanette Music Channel where we do music analysis. And today we are going to be doing a Fearless era overview. So just to catch everybody up, we've reacted to a whole ton of Taylor Swift music, but I decided after reacting to every single song off of the Life of a Showgirl album, I was like, you know what? It's been a while since I've listened to Taylor's discography, so maybe we should start from the beginning and continue forward. So I decided let's start with the Fearless era because that was the era, at least in my opinion, that really took her to the next level, made her a household name. I remember hearing Love Story on the radio for the first time and was like, whoa, who is this? I had never heard of her prior to hearing Love Story. And after hearing that song, she became one of my favorite artists during that time in my life. And I was thinking about what made the Fearless era so pivotal in Taylor's career and also what drew so many people to her. And I think there's a few different things that kind of came together that made that really happen. So one of those things being she's just an incredible songwriter, right? Like even at a young age, Taylor was very talented with lyrics. We have seen interviews, or at least I have seen interviews, I'm sure if you guys are Swifties, you have as well, where at a young age she was co-writing with adults and they were like, wow, like she is a whole other level of teenager that we've never worked with before. So from a early age, she had a knack for songwriting, and that really came through when this album released. And I think the other thing that was really pivotal here is that not only was she writing great lyrics, but she was very young. So she appealed to a younger audience, aka me. Because when she released this album, I think I was 14-ish, 15-ish, and immediately I listened to the whole thing. I was like, wow, it is truly like she read my diary. So it was someone who had a knack for songwriting, and she was around, she's a little bit older, but similar age that I could really just relate to. So not only did her music naturally pull in just a wide range of fans, but then you watch her music videos at the time and they're very relatable. She also used to do which of course now she would never have time for this, but back then she used to do these like really funny vlogs, and so you got to not only know her as an artist but as a person. So she would do like really funny vlogs when she was on tour, and she would do funny things with like her dancers and her guitarists and all of these things that just really rounded everything out. You're like, okay, she's a great songwriter, she's an awesome artist, and she also just seems like a really nice person, which is hard to come by in Hollywood, if we're being quite honest. So I think she had a lot of things just really working for her. Her talent, her age, and her like funny, like really sarcastic comedic relief kind of personality. So all of those things I think really came together. And so when this album came out, it was kind of like a no-brainer, right? Like everybody just fell in love with Taylor Swift. And again, I kind of talked about this in, I think, the last video I did, the 15 video, but she kind of came out at a time where, just being kind of a normal teenager was not really popular, right? We had Avril Lavigne, who's very like punk rock, which if you talk to any of my friends, I was a huge Avril Lavigne a fan. Like I was a fanatic, loved her, could do a whole series on Avril Lavigne, but had my room full of posters of her. Absolutely loved her. But we had, Avril Lavigne, we had Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and they were very much, we had Avril that was like the punk rock. We had Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, who were kind of like, dancey, very, very pop. You had Pink, who was blowing up as well. You had just all of these like very different artists, and just kind of right in the middle was Taylor Swift, who's just like this teenager, She dressed like a teenager. She talked like a teenager. And she was just very, very relatable. Whereas some of those other figures, everybody looked up to, but they weren't quite relatable. Like the way Taylor Swift was, right? Like you could watch her vlogs and be like, oh my gosh, she's so funny. Like nobody had done that at that time. So I think a lot of things kind of pulled together. To just make this era just incredible. And, as I was listening to it now, I'm like, even now, the songs are good. So that's how you know, like, that the Fearless era, the Fearless album was just a solid album. Like, you can listen to it 15 years later, and it's still amazing. Like, no, it doesn't resonate with my life now, obviously, as a 32-year-old mom, but it's still incredible. For the teenagers now, they can put that music on and still relate to it. And I think that's how you know you have a solid artist, a solid era, a solid musician, right? When you can go back and be like, wow, this is still incredibly relatable 15 years later. It's like that really good TV show, right? That everybody loves, whatever that might be, whether that's Friends or Seinfeld, right? You can watch it years and years and years later and be like, that is still hilarious. Like, that's when you know you have a good show. And I feel like that is this era for Taylor. She was young, she's very talented, and she's just putting out her diary, and us 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds are like, oh my God, she gets me. Like, she's writing about, wanting to find love. She's writing about heartbreak. She also has this really great way of just like romanticizing things, like Love Story is a great example of that. So it was just natural, right? She didn't have to think of like, how do I get into a teenage brain? Like me, if I was trying to write for a teenager now, like that would be so hard, especially nowadays. I don't even know what 20-year-olds are into now. But like, she didn't have to think, right? She was a teen writing about teenage things. And so it was just naturally relatable. And so like I said, listening to these songs now, the fact that they're still relatable is just absolutely incredible. She just has a natural knack for storytelling. And I think all of the songs we listened to, plus all of the others on that album, just really pulled that entire album together and just turned her from like a country star to like a international star, right? Like that album, sure, it was definitely country-ish, but it was definitely country pop. Like she was definitely already sowing the seeds for her pop remake of her later years. So I think she did a really nice job of like her first album it was definitely still pop country, but it was a little bit more country than pop. And then we have the Fearless era, which is definitely a little bit more pop than country. You could kind of go either way there. And then, as she kind of continues on her career before 1989, she's kind of just sowing those seeds. So I think she just did a really good job. I think she was very smart about what she did in that era. She had a really great team already behind her, her parents. She really made it. That's the other thing that other pop artists and country artists really hadn't done at that time, is she made like being a family cool. That's the other thing. So not only did she pull in like the teenagers, but she pulled in the teens' parents, because they're like, wait a second, she's like teaching our kids that like being nice to your parents is cool. Like I remember certain movies my parents didn't let me watch because like the child character was just so like immature or just like rude to their parents. They're like, oh, we don't want her watching that because she's gonna think that's okay. Like that's just not allowed in this house. And so Taylor was kind of that first artist that made like being a family cool. Like joking with your mom, spending Friday nights with your mom was fine. That was fun. Like that's cool. And so she brought in the parents as well, and they bought into it. I know my parents are like, oh, well, she seems like a great person for my daughter to look up to, right? She seems very kind. She's showing that like, you don't have to be popular. You can hang out with your parents, and like all of those like things that I was kind of feeling at that time, where like I didn't fit in. I definitely hung out with my parents a lot. Like, she kind of made that cool. And so again, like looking back at this era and talking through all of these things, I kind of made some notes as well. It really just shows why she quickly became a household name. Quickly, very, very quickly. And I think honestly, in the pop world, I'll be honest, I haven't really followed the country world as closely right now. It's just I don't really know a ton of the artists. Like I know Lainey Wilson, she seems pretty awesome. I don't really know a lot of the country artists. So forgive me for that world. I don't really know it. For the pop world, I really can't think of anyone who's just like who's like that now. Like I feel like and I kind of again touched on this in the last video I did about Taylor. I think it was a 15 video. But I really can't think of any pop artists that are just like, I don't know, just like making the mundane like cool again. Like, I don't know. I feel like they're all just kind of, and I know they kind of have to as well, but I feel like they're all just kind of coming onto the scene and they're not having that like kind of awkward era that like most artists have, you know, like, I don't know, just make the mundane cool again. Like, can we just like dress normal and just act normal and just be nice? You know, I think Taylor made being nice cool again, you know, like, again, like I really do feel like some celebrities, they just think they're just above everything. And she just kind of came on the scene and was like, I'm just nice to everybody. Like, I'm just going to be grateful and I'm going to thank my fans. I'm going to be nice to my parents. Like, she kind of came with just this really like breath of fresh air, and I really do think we need that. Like we really need that, guys, in pop music again. So if you're an artist watching this and you have that, like, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. People want that. We really need that, I think, again. So who knows, maybe we'll get that again. That would be awesome. But this era was so fun to listen back to 15 or more years later. And I think it's a really great era to learn from as well. So if you are a songwriter and you just want to know how to make radio ready hits, this is definitely an era I would go back to because she was writing to make it onto radio, right? Her later eras, not so much, right? She's Taylor Swift. Who cares? They're going to put me on the radio anyways. I can write a 10-minute song. It's going to be played. But these eras, right, she was still very new. So she was writing for the radio. The songs were a lot shorter. And she was really just looking for, you know, that radio ready song. So definitely if you're learning, this is a great era to go back to. What did you guys think of the Fearless era? Are you a new Swiftie? I guess I should say I'm not a Swiftie, but I really enjoy Taylor stuff, but I can't consider myself a Swiftie. I don't really know the Taylor lore. But are you just finding the Fearless era? Are you a newer Taylor Swift fan? You know, where are you in your Taylor Swift journey? And have you enjoyed this little series so far? We are going to be moving to the Red era, which is super exciting. I cannot wait for that era. So what songs should we do from that era? Make sure you comment below, guys. Let me know. Also, thank you so much to everyone who has joined the Patreon. We are having so much fun over there. Lots of live drops happening. We are starting streams over there. Lots of behind the scenes, early access, uncut stuff. We redid the tiers. So if you're at the $10 tier, you get the uncut plus early access and all the things. So thank you all so much. And for those of you who have joined the streams, I am back to doing weekly streams right here on YouTube and on Twitch. Fridays, 8 p.m. / 8:30 p.m.-ish Eastern time. As long as Everly is good and she's doing well, we can typically start around 8. So come and join, hang out with the community, request a tune. We're also going to filter in some live reaction request streams, so make sure you keep an eye for those. Lots of stuff happening, guys. Lots of stuff coming down the pike. I hope you guys are enjoying, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for joining this Fearless Era overview. I shall see you for the next video next Friday. I shall see you guys soon. Bye, guys!